Hi, hello, and welcome to LX2 Codependency Coaching Podcast. I am Stella. It's Friday, and I normally post on Thursday, but unforeseen circumstances and all the things. I've been in a weird place, not geographically. But I wanted to start by reading something that I had started. So I use the Notes app on my phone often, and I've been using it for years now, just if I have thoughts or insights or moments or whatever. And in February of 22, maybe 23, I had started an ongoing note that I called Chasing Peace. And I just want to read you a few of them. It is an ongoing, extensive list, but 10 minutes before you wake up, completely just lying in bed. Like that is a peaceful moment for me. Driving down the hill is Montano, and seeing all the greens of the cottonwood trees along the Rio Grande Valley. Clean sheets on a well-made bed, the smell of freshly cut grass, long night drives on a dark road with good tunes. Uh, the fevered resolution that only makes sense in the sweat. I don't even know what that meant, but I wrote it down. Climbing into bed after a long day and stretching out completely. The leaves turning green on the bosque. I really do love, because I live in the desert and because there's not a lot of green, the leaves on the bosque, the cottonwood trees, that is peace to me. Watching my puppy sleep and hearing his gentle snores. The completion of an important task. Writing down how far I've come. Seeing progress on a goal. Not just mine, but on clients as well. I love that. Taking inventory of where I've been and what I've done. So that's just a little bit of where my head is at often when I have a peaceful moment. I write it down. And I've been thinking about this idea of chasing peace. And part of where it came from is I was having a conversation with a client. We were talking about addiction and, really acknowledging the amount of peace that they've been able to collect and really kind of curate for themselves. And we were talking regarding addiction because now they are more consciously chasing those moments of peace, like finding and collecting them, right? And before, in addiction, a lot of times we are, the idea of chasing the dragon is you're chasing the next high. And a lot of times that's avoiding whatever the discomfort is from withdrawals or the anxiety that comes from not having whatever it is you're addicted to, or trying to, like I said, get that high, the same high that you got the first time when you started whatever the addiction is. And it could be substances, but it could also be relationships. It could also be, goals that you, like most people are chasing, like especially ambitious humans are chasing that next successful moment, right? And so the idea of chasing peace is not running away. Peace is not elusive. However, it does feel that way, especially if you are accustomed to chaos or you are used to a level of drama because that feels more normal, right? And so the idea of collecting peace or chasing peace is really consciously living in that what is good moment and being able to fact check through and identify what peace looks like for you. And peace looks like something different for everyone. And it could be something as simple as, watching your kids play, or a clean kitchen, or, for me, it's like clean sheets and a clean bathroom make me very happy. And if I didn't have to do it, even better. But, those kinds of opportunities to acknowledge what makes you feel peaceful, right? So it's not actually the piece of the activity or the piece of whatever. It could be like meditation, or for me, it's going for a walk, or going for a drive, right? There is an action, but the peace is the feeling that you have when things are calm and okay, right? And if you are working your, gratitude practice on a regular basis, you're able to identify what that feels like. It feels like calm. It feels like an opportunity to exhale. It feels like acknowledging that everything is right with the world in this moment. And it might be it might not be the global world, right? But it might be my world. Everything in my world is where it needs to be. A lot of times people will say, as long as my kids have what they need, not what they want, but what they need, as long as, there's food in the fridge, my bills are paid, whatever it is, really acknowledging what that peace looks like. It's not elusive. It is something that you can find, and sometimes it does take effort. So I was thinking about this idea, right, back and forth of chasing peace, because I've been working on it for a long time. And the other kind of flip side of that is when things are peaceful, and I've spoken with you before, a lot of times people will feel anxiety, because when everything is calm, everything is okay, everything is where it needs to be, often people will be like, well, here's when the other shoe's going to drop, or here's when something bad is going to happen, which is possible. As it always is, what we know to be true about life is challenging and difficult, and there are shitty parts, and they happen, right? Water. But there is also this acknowledgement of fact checking it through and being able to be like, okay, did I get all of the things done? Did I, do my best? Did I make all the, concerted efforts to create this moment? And because it's my job as an external source to be able to identify, and I, when I'm having consultations or sessions with clients, I'll be like, okay, look around at your life, especially when it's on, video or whatever. A lot of times people will be sitting in their living room or in their car or in their whatever, their office, and I'm like, look around, right? Look around at the life that you have created and recognize where you came from somewhere before now, and really acknowledging, like, you never imagined yourself in this position where everything is peaceful, where everything is calm, where all needs are met, and there is nothing chasing you. There is no saber-toothed tiger. You can choose peace, and you don't have to chase it down. You don't have to, it's not a hunt. It's literally just seeking it out in your everyday life. Often, I talk about, especially in conflict resolution and client stuff or relationship things in general, right? Even with your children, sometimes we have to choose our battles. Like, is this worth saying the unhelpful thing? Or is this worth creating more dysregulation? Is this worth, getting all bajiggity about it? Or can I choose peace, right? There's often, certainly on social media, there's the idea of like choosing violence, right? Then she chose violence today, or he chose violence. It's funny in a, anecdotal kind of way, but it really is a choice, and acknowledging like where we get to choose peace and not just chase it, where we get to acknowledge, okay, I'm going to be peaceful in this moment, rather than going in and being spring loaded. I talk about often, because most of us who grew up in chaos or drama or trauma or whatever are often waiting to keep ourselves safe. So we are spring loaded, ready for any potential battle that could come in our direction. Not the most helpful stance, right? I talk about the peaceful warrior, right? A peaceful warrior is the one that is open and acknowledges that I have been through a lot of things, and today I am choosing to be peaceful, right? I love the peaceful warrior stance. I speak about it often because it is that opportunity for us to acknowledge our skills and tools and recognize that we do not need to use them right now, right? That is what I'm saying when I say choose or, chase peace, really acknowledging that we get the opportunity to make that be part of our reality. It is not possible to stay in that peaceful warrior position forever, but it is part of the flow of life. I sound like a yoga instructor. I'm not. I just do yoga occasionally. But I want us to start to think about how we can integrate choosing peace more often as we continue to kind of accumulate moments of peace. I talk about often resentment and our resentment backpack as we pick up little resentments and continue to carry them over time, or our emotional hoarding where we pick and choose those negative thoughts or beliefs or experiences, and then we hold on to them and make them the reality that we exist in all the time. We can also do the same with peace, right? And the difference is that when we choose resentment, they're tiny little pebbles of irritation or frustration that we are collecting and holding on to, whereas peace are beautiful gems of moments, right? Again, we cannot live in that zen peace like thing. There are several moments in episodes prior to now where I've talked about like nobody can live on the hill like zen in the lotus position just like everything is great, because life will happen. I can imagine, even sitting at the top of the mountain in your, whatever robes, really just zenned out, and a fucking plane will go over. Or, you'll get an itch or a cramp, or you'll have an unhelpful thought, right? And it'll bring you out of that zen place. Now, what you can learn to do is to go back into a moment of everything is okay, right? It does not need to be bliss, though I would love all of us to have blissful moments. Choosing bliss is also a note on my phone. But bliss can be regular. It does not have to be the most amazing thing, right? I am grateful to have had moments where I am sitting in beautiful places and just I'm able to sit in the peace and bliss of a moment. I love a beautiful vista. I love, being able to, like I said, sleeping is a big thing, uh, or laying and stretching out. That's a big thing. Post workout, I do love that feeling because I've got the endorphins going and I'm a little bit sweaty and, my heart rate is coming down and I'm like, okay, here it is, right? This is what I do this for. 3 days a week, I'm doing strength training. 3 days a week, I'm doing, cardio. And I love that feeling because one, physiochemically, lots of endorphins. Two, I've completed a task, right? I set out to be the kind of human that does this on a regular basis, not for any other reason than to create a memory in my body of what it is to move around, right? I I wrote a note to my sister-in-law because on Instagram we send each other dessert things and capybara things because she loves them. Um, but I was like, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for all of the working out we do for how much we love desserts, right? And she and I, that's one of the things that we share, which I'm super grateful for. And I recognize, like, even, my sisters and I send memes back and forth or videos or reels or whatever. My brother and I, we do the same thing. And part of that is one, it's how people communicate now, but also it's moments of connection. And what I love about it when I get one that really hits is like, you see me. Not just do you see me, but you know me and you acknowledge what makes me giggle, makes me smile, makes me think, right? I love that part of social media communication because when someone knows you well, they're going to choose the thing that resonates with you or, both of you in that way. And acknowledging that, like, again, I work out just to keep my body moving and to be able to eat really good dessert. I recognize that that is how I find peace. This week was tough, right? I learned that one of my clients passed away, as people do. Um, and what I recognized and acknowledged is, and what I know to be true, right, is that all of this could end at any point, right? Everything. For us, for the people that we love, like that's just an inevitability that I learned at a very young age that at any point this could change. And I'm grateful today that I learned that young so that I don't take for granted all of the beautiful things that happen in my life because I know that it can end at any point. And being in this job for as long as I have, working with as many people as I have had clients who die. I have had clients who, have shared their life with me and, they lose people in their life. Like it happens. And so often I'm so blessed to be able to sit in the grief with them. of that loss, and also acknowledge my own grief, right? It was unexpected. I actually had an appointment scheduled with them, and then I got a text message that they had passed away recently. And obviously that's a dreaded text message to receive or phone call to receive. You know, I've been the recipient of those phone calls and texts throughout my life, which is difficult. And I acknowledge that at any point, you know, things could change. And rather than getting really stuck in the heaviness of it, what I default to, and certainly when I work with clients who are dealing with grief, is we can focus on this moment of loss, which is happening, right? I acknowledge that. And we can focus on the life and the memory and the experience and the privilege and the blessing it was to have them in our life. And that is what creates the grief, right? Some random person that I don't know passed away, because people do every day. That's not going to hit as much as someone that really brought light and laughter and joy and levity and great stories and all of those things to my experience, right? My whole job is to sit in spaces with people where they share their life and their laughter and their sadness and their joy and their heaviness and all of those things. And so I get to sit with that. And rather than focusing on, like, I'll never have that again, I like to focus on the abundance of, I have had that. What a blessing. What a truly amazing gift it is. And I talk about how much I love my job often, because for the most part I do. I really do love sitting in spaces and holding the, you know, the vessel for people to share those things with me. And honestly, like, I do love when people have never been to therapy and they don't know what to expect, right? In their first session, I'm just like, we're just going to have a conversation. Subsequently, we're going to talk about other stuff, but today I just want to know who you are, because I am genuinely curious and I want to know about your experience as a person on the planet. And so I get to do that with lots of people at different places in their experience, and I create connection. And certainly from a objective perspective, I get to see things differently than they do. And so a lot of times clients will see, you know, will say things like, I didn't see it that way, or, you know, thank you for that reframe, because now I can understand it from a different way. So it doesn't feel as heavy, or it doesn't feel as overwhelming, or whatever it is. Right. And so losing this client, heavy for sure, devastating for their family and their loved ones, absolutely. And acknowledging that, like, this is part of the process, and hopefully, you know, they found peace. They have found a space that isn't as heavy or challenging as life has been for all of us, right? There is no one that gets out of this without having heavy and difficult things happen. And so if we get the opportunity to choose peace in the experience that we have, even if it's just in moments, isn't that better than sitting in the shit? Because there will always be shit. Sometimes bobcat shit on a roof. Go figure. Or mountain lion. I don't remember which one it was, but they know what I'm talking about. Those are things that we get to choose and acknowledge, right? There will always be a little bit of shit that we step in where you're just like, dang it. And please pick up your dog poop on trails and in neighborhoods so people don't have to step in that particular shit. But there will always be hard things, right? There will always be difficult, challenging, next goal, hard work. This is heavy. This sucks. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm worried. I'm overwhelmed. I'm disappointed. There will always be those things. And I use that extreme language on purpose. Life has hard parts, starting from the very beginning. And if you get an opportunity to be able to choose peace, if you have to chase it down, okay. It's not running, so you get to find it. It's like Easter eggs. You just find little moments of it. You get to do that in your life, right? But it is a conscious choice. it is a conscious choice to say, okay, rather than staying frustrated, staying angry, even staying in my anxiety, I'm going to see what I can do to find peace in this moment. Not everybody can do it all the time, but everybody can do it at least once a day, right? And so whatever that looks like for you. For me, it's a Diet Dr. Pepper, more a Coke Zero, depending. For me, and I give examples of, for me, not because my life is great and fancy and fantastic all the time, but because I'm a human being living this experience. And if I can teach you through my experience, that's why I do it. But I find moments of that often, right? Having really clean, cold water is a privilege and a blessing, right? I love water all day long. And the colder, the better. If it's got a little lemon in it, that's fantastic. But that brings me peace, right? Having a clean desk, peace. Having a nice, place to come home to because I was able to pay the rent and did the thing, peace, right? It doesn't have to be the most fantastic. Have I sat in moments? Absolutely. Next to the Aegean after getting off of a boat and, being next to the most beautiful blue water ever. Yeah, I've had that experience. But cold water, in my casita is equally blissful, right? Water, same. Uh, Figuring out what does that for you is going to be your responsibility. But if you can find it on a regular basis, acknowledge that you can string that together. Better that you find some peace in your life rather than living moment to moment of anxiety, frustration, sadness, anger, all of those things. Will that happen? Absolutely. And if you can take a moment to find some peace, that might be helpful, right? And if you can do that by fact checking what is true, what you can do, what can you control, that's going to be really helpful. How do you manage your boundaries? Your peace is also a resource. So recognizing that when you set boundaries, it's not just to manage the resource of time, of space, of thoughts, of emotions, of sex, of energy, but it's also managing the resource of your peace, right? And so recognizing I want to maintain this as much as possible. In order for me to do that, I'm going to have to communicate my expectations. I'm going to have to follow through with my boundaries. I'm going to have to acknowledge what challenges my peace on a regular, consistent basis that I can control, usually my behavior, and then it makes it easier to be like, oh, I'm choosing peace today. I'm not trying to get all messed up in your stuff, right? And so that's your choice. That is a way for you to manage your boundaries and address your peace on a regular basis, picking up those beautiful jewels and holding on to them and being able to use them in moments when things can feel overwhelming, heavy, sad, frustrating, right? Just like you pick up the backpack with resentment, you can pick up your backpack with peace. All right, there's your nugget. Here's an announcement. I have added a page I've added to a page on my website. So my website is at www.luna-x2-llc.com. I had to think about it. You can find the link in any of the bios of my social media, even on the website for the podcast. So if you go to my website and go to LX2 Codependency Coaching Podcast, there is a page for that. On the bottom of that page is a submission for a page submission if you want to ask a question, right? I am open today to any of you who are listening to this that maybe want to ask a question or want to, want me to talk about something specifically. We're almost at 250 episodes, which is amazing. We're almost at 28,000 downloads. Thank you so much to everyone who's listening. So I'm giving you the opportunity. If there's a question that you want to ask me specific to mental health, codependency, boundaries, communication, relationships, any of the things that I have spoken about here, mental health in general, you can submit a question to me on the website, right? You can always get a hold of me on any of the social media pages, but if you do it through my website, you will send me an email directly. So there is that. I will be posting links to it on all of the social media things, but I wanted to give you the opportunity, if you wanted to engage, ask a question. You can do it anonymously. You get to decide whether or not you want me to talk about it regarding the email, or if you just is this something you want me to talk about. So it's going to be www.luna-x2-llc.com, right? So that's the website. There's your nugget. Thank you to everyone who's listening. If you will take a brief moment to send love and light to the family of my client who passed away, and acknowledge that, yeah, he was a good one. So human in general, also good client. It's heavy and sad, like I said, but I work in grief. That's what I do. So that's part of what I do anyway. Find your peace, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.